season with the Broncos was a disaster, but now Sean Payton is his head coach. It might not be all positive just yet, though. A report says some people have expressed lingering concerns about Wilson's ability to play within the structure of the offense. Uh-oh. JD, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but what are your expectations for Russell Wilson this season?
Well, I think he's with a super offensive guru, you know, with Sean Payton. So I expect him to be a lot better than he was last year. I needed 4,000 yards. I truly need that, right? I need 4,000 yards. I need to see the old Russ. I don't need him to be cooking as much, but show me something, though, because last year was so bad that it might have cost him his jacket, right? It might have cost him his jacket. So I need to see a more efficient Russ. And I need to see about 7 to 8 wins. Last year they had, what, 5 or 4?
He had 4, they had 5.
Okay, even better. I need to see 8 wins. Double your wins. And then I think you grow on that. I don't see a lot of talent on the offensive side with the Broncos. And then they had some injuries that just happened. And then some guys coming back from injury this year. So I just need to see 4,000 yards. I see 8 games, 8 wins. You know, and then I'll think that Russ is kind of getting back. It's a hard division, too. AFC's hard, and that division is super hard.
It is. I would say Russ needs to get back to who he was, but what version of who he was? Because he hasn't thrown for over 4,000 yards since the 2020 season. So what worries me about the situation is he's kind of trending down statistically.
Yeah.
And that was back when he was still in Seattle. So
Right.
the turnaround is going to have to be dramatic. If he doubles his wins, I'm with you. To me, that's a success because they were so bad last year. I really just need Russ to look functional. I need him to look like a veteran.
Right.
I need to look like he's in control. There were times last year where it didn't even look like he knew how to play NFL football. We couldn't believe our eyes watching some of those games. It was staggering. Like, what? Is a pod person? Like, this can't be the same Russell Wilson looking this badly. So I understand a bit of concern of him not fitting into the offense right away, kind of stirring some more anxieties, because if he was really back to what he was before, you would think this would be slightly more seamless. But, Bucky, what are your expectations for Russell Wilson?
I'm really worried about Russell. I'm worried about Russell Wilson coming back. I'm worried about him being a fit in this offense. I just don't like how it could fit. Because when I think about Sean Payton, his best success with Drew Brees, it was timing, rhythm, ball comes out.
Yeah.
Drew Brees was that kind of quarterback. Russell Wilson is not that kind of quarterback. So it kind of reminds me of the Lakers when they had Russell Westbrook, and they brought Russell Westbrook in, and Russell Westbrook is the triple-double machine, but we want him to come out here and bring it up and pass and screen away, and everyone is mad at Russ. I feel like in Denver, they could misplace him and miscast him and make him like a Russell Westbrook. Then everyone in Denver ends up hating him.
TJ?
Expectations. When Sean Payton came out and said what he said about Nathaniel Hackett last week, I said, damn, Russ looks real good in practice. For you to come out here and put this pressure on him, he must look real good. And then they follow it up now. Oh, there's some things he's working through, just the reads and offense and making sure he understands what we're doing. And I'm not so sure that Russ can ever be what he was in Seattle. You got to give Pete Carroll his credit. He put an offense around him. We're going to play good defense. We're going to run the ball. We're going to take shots down the field. That's what Russell is. Russell Wilson is not a guy that's going to drop back, like Bucky said, and throw with anticipation and timing. That's not who he is. But that's what Sean Payton's offense is. Now, how do they merge the way Russell Wilson plays and how Sean Payton wants to call a game? Can they merge those two? I don't know if Russell can do that at this point in his career.
Well, offensively, how would they do that? Because we know what Sean Payton's offense is and how it works, and we very much know what Russell Wilson is and how he was successful. So they clearly went and got Sean Payton, and part of that was because they wanted to have success with Russell Wilson. So if they're not a match, where do they meet in the middle? Like, who budges there?
Last year, when Russ was struggling, everybody was saying, oh, he needs to get out of the pocket. He needs to improvise. He needs to use his legs. That's not Sean Payton's offense. Now, a good coach is going to implement what your players do best. I'm sure they'll sprinkle some of that in. But that can't be the entirety of your offense, so we're just going to get out the pocket and use our legs.
But are Russ's legs what they once were?
I mean, they'll be good enough to get out the pocket, but you can't play that way you have to be able to throw from the pocket with anticipation. And if he can't do that, it's going to be a problem. They will win more games because Sean Payton is that good.
You know what? I actually disagree, right? I know that's That's not his traditional offense, Russell playing under Sean Payton, right? Sean likes timing, like you talked about. But when I went to the Chiefs in 2019, I have a great relationship with Andy Reid, right? And when I went there, I was asking about Patrick Mahomes. He had a great year before, so I'm asking about him. And he said, you know what I did? Traditionally, he likes that West Coast offense. He said, what I did was I went back to what he did great with Texas Tech, right, in college. He said, now, it's a lot different from what he likes, but whatever he did great in college, he took some of that and mixed it with the offense he already has. So that way, we both are comfortable. I'm giving you what you're used to, what you like, what you do best. You always want your player to do what does best for him. Take some of that and then take what I like. And I think you can do that. I think Sean Payton is that type of coach.
Sean Payton's going to do that, but can Russ adjust to what Payton likes?
You getting both. You getting both. And then another thing is, if let's say he shows that he's struggling with the way that Sean Payton wants his offense ran, right? But then he shows on the other side how well he's doing with some things he has. What do you have to do? You have to lean more to that.
Coach has to.
You want to win.
Yeah, no, and he talked about it. Sean Payton talked about that before he even got a job. He looked at Russ and said, like, the first thing you have to do is play the hits. What does he do well? How can we build around his strengths and kind of build out the offense from that? The key will be, what are Russell Wilson's strengths right now? We've sat up here and talked about he doesn't throw with timing and rhythm. You alluded to his legs not being what they once were. He slimmed down, but when you slim down, you're trying to get that last little flicker of athleticism out.
That is true, right?
And so if he can't move around and he's not a time and rhythm quarterback, I don't know how Sean Payton can build this offense around him. It's going to have to be the running game and other stuff to matter.
And one thing, I want to see more RPOs. Right? Because, like I think the run option, if you give that to a guy like Russ, he can either run it or give it to the running back or throw it. It makes it so much easier. With the Chiefs, when I was there, we did that with Patrick Mahomes because, okay, you're stealing. You're stealing yards. We get a 5-yard out route, right? The corner's off. It's a run play, but we throw a quick 5-yard out to our receiver, and they can potentially bring that to 5 to 10 to 12 yards. So those are easy ways to gain confidence, to steal yards, to build an offense.
The difference is also when you bring up the Chiefs, Andy Reid, and Mahomes was a young quarterback. And so you don't have tendencies to break with a young quarterback. Russell Wilson has been in the league a while, so he's a good point. You get set in your ways. And so to try to break those tendencies, that's going to be hard for Russell.
Yeah.
And that's a huge difference.
Who has more pressure in this situation? They're both obviously have massive profiles. Yeah. They've both been paid. They both have high expectations, but one of them has more pressure than the other. In my opinion, it's Russ.
Right.
Because Sean Payton is a made man to me. We've seen him go in and take the Saints from an organization where fans would show up with garbage bags on their heads to being an organization that we still respect, even though he's no longer there. Right. Because of the culture that he built there. So, and we've seen him do it with all kinds of different quarterbacks. We've seen him win games with every different level of talent. Yeah, sure. So if it doesn't work this year, and Russ is the reason why it looks like it's not working, to me, it's going to fall more on Russ than on Sean Payton. But Sean has set the standards very high for the coaching there. Who do you think has more pressure, Shady?
I'm going to go with Russ. I think we've seen Russ play at his worst. And we're like, everybody at this table is okay. We can't see that again, right? We gave you all this money. We gave you everything you wanted. Parking spots. I mean, what? He had rooms upstairs. Everything you want. You got everything you want, right?
Yeah.
Sierra got her own makeup room. Whatever you need, we got it. So we gave you that, and you didn't deliver. So now this year we bring in an offensive guru. Think about this. When they was looking for a head coach, they looked for an offensive guy. How can we fix our big investment? So you bring in Sean Payton, and I think that Sean has to get his whole, I guess, the chemistry right. He has to get his team what he wants. Right. So it's going to take some time, a year or two. But Russ, you've been there, and you're supposed to be a Hall of Famer. So I put all the pressure on him.
It's all on him. We talked about it. You talked about he may have tricked off his gold jacket. He may have. Yeah. Like, we're talking about a guy who was in position to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. He had an interception to Malcolm Butler that prevented him from getting his second Super Bowl win.
Yeah, right,
and look, it's all gone downhill since. Yes, he's had some individual success, but when you get let go, and everyone expected the Seattle Seahawks to fall apart, and they play better with Geno Smith, now everyone is looking at Russell sideways. And so he has to bounce back, because if he doesn't bounce back, all those little rumors and murmurs we heard about the defense not liking Russ and the offense, now all the credit for the Super Bowls goes to the defense, and Russ doesn't get any of those accolades.
All of it is on Russell Wilson. I mean, all of it. 2006, Sean Payton takes over a 3-win Saint team.
That is true.
They win 10 games and win the division.
Yep.
And Sean Payton, nobody's gonna blame Sean Payton if they don't lose if they don't win because of what happened last year. Jameis Winston, Teddy Bridgewater, Taysom Hill. Sean Payton went 17-5 with those guys as his quarterback. We would all say Russell Wilson is better than him.
Yeah.
He went 17-5 with those guys as his quarterback. So if Russ can't do better than that, it's all on Russ because, oh, he had Drew Brees. This is why he's winning. All right. How about this 22-game sample then without him?
Yeah.
And all of those quarterbacks
dope stat, too.
are different styles, too.
Yes.
So it's not
Different
like he
players.
was just winning with the same type of player and just, carrying that offense over. And all of those players have not looked the same without him.
And to what Shady said earlier, this also, when you say different styles, Sean Payton has shown
Yes.
it doesn't have to be, I can win different ways.
Right.
And so if that's what Russell does best, Sean Payton will do it because
You're going to find out, yeah.
Taysom Hill, Bridgewater, and Jameis Winston, all three of them are different type of quarterbacks, and he won with them. And so that means he changed up what he liked to what they like.
Yeah.
I also think when it comes to coaches, you mentioned like a year or two. To me, a real full coaching job, unless it's a disaster like it was with Nathaniel Hackett, takes about 3 years to evaluate.
Yeah.
You need a couple drafts. You need to be able to develop young players. You need to be able to implement your system. People feel comfortable in your system. And then you can really see what you're doing as a head coach. Russell Wilson doesn't have that much time. And if he really is declining, then it's going to trend even worse if we're seeing that, okay, they made all these changes. Obviously, the Denver Broncos aren't as talented as maybe we thought that they were when Russ got there. And part of that might be because they had to give up a lot to get Russ there. But the clock is ticking for Russ in a way that it's not ticking for Sean Payton, which adds extra pressure on him.
Can we ask the scout a question? Bucky Brooks,
Yes,
scout?
Scout, Bucky Brooks.
KJ Hamler, Tim Patrick look like Tim Patrick's done for the season, torn Achilles. KJ Hamler, something with his heart. Does that affect what they want to do?
Well, I mean, I think it certainly affected because those were two guys that they were counting on, particularly Tim Patrick, because there was a synergy between him and Russ, and everybody talked about it. But I felt like Sean Payton was going to run the football anyway.
Yeah.
Javonte Williams comes back. They try to upgrade the offensive line. The reason why they want to run the ball, take some of that pressure off of Russ.
Absolutely.
Everyone talks about him cooking, but yeah, we're going to give him the little toaster oven. We're not going to give him the big old oven.
Right.
So that's why we're going to run the football.
Easy bake, huh?
But Sean Payton, he always runs the ball. And then well, I think it's going to take about 2 years or so, or 2 to 3 years to get his offense, because if you look at his scheme, he always has the same scheme. Like, he's going to have a burner in his speed. Yeah. I remember back in the day, he had Henderson.
Ted Ginn Jr.
Right? He always has them. Meacham, what's his name?
Robert
Meacham.
Yep.
Okay, and then he has a big body. Michael Thomas, Marcus Colston. Mm-hmm. He always has them goose, and he has a great tight end, big size tight end. 2 running back system. Like, Sean Payton has his own type of system. I think it's going to take 2 years to get that.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.